You are giving away your wealth right now, and you have no idea you are doing it. I want to tell you about a woman I will call Miriam. She was 43 years old when she first came to speak with me. She was generous to a fault. Truly one of the most giving people I had ever met in 40 years of teaching. She gave money to anyone who asked. She gave her time without hesitation to anyone who needed it. She gave her emotional energy to every struggling person in her life. And she was completely, utterly broke, not just financially. She was depleted in every way a human being can be depleted. She sat across from me at my desk and she said, "Rabbi, I do not understand. I give constantly. I give more than anyone I know. Why does wealth never come to me?" I looked at her for a long moment before I answered. And then I said, "Miriam, the Torah does not say that giving is always a virtue. It says that giving the right things to the right people at the right time, in the right way, is a virtue. What you have been doing is not generosity. It is self-destruction dressed in the clothing of kindness." She was silent for a very long time, and then she said, "Show me." So I did, and tonight I am going to show you the Talmud in Tractate Bava Metzia, one of the most important tractates in all of rabbinic financial law. Records a principle I have returned to hundreds of times over 4 decades of teaching. It says this: there are vessels through which blessing flows, and there are leaks through which blessing drains. Most people spend their entire lives trying to increase what flows in, without ever addressing what drains out. They work harder, they pray more, they try new strategies, but the vessel keeps emptying because the leaks were never sealed. The Rambam, Maimonides, wrote in his Mishneh Torah that one of the Talmud's descriptions of a madman is one who willfully destroys valuable property. And yet most people, every single day, are giving away the 3 most valuable things they possess. Not because they are mad, but because nobody ever told them these 3 things were theirs to protect. Before I reveal them, I need to say something directly. I know what some of you are thinking. "Rabbi, I am not wealthy enough to worry about protecting things. I barely have anything. And I want to say to you with every ounce of 40 years of conviction, the less you have, the more critical this teaching is. Because these 3 things are not possessions. They are the seeds from which all possessions grow. When you give them away carelessly, you are not just losing what you have. You are destroying your capacity to ever have more. That is what Miriam had been doing for 20 years. Not spending her wealth, destroying her capacity to generate it. There is a permanent difference between those 2 things. The first thing you must never give away carelessly is your time. In Tractate Bava, the ancient rabbis observed a consistent pattern across generations of Jewish families. People who gave their time freely without discernment, without fair exchange, consistently ended up financially depleted, not because generosity is wrong, but because there is a spiritual and economic law that governs the exchange of value. And when that law is violated, the consequences are real and predictable. The Torah in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 13 states with extraordinary directness, "A worker is worthy of his wages." Maimonides, in his Mishneh Torah, wrote that this verse establishes one of the foundational principles of all Jewish economic law. Your time has value, not potential value, not approximate value, real, precise, measurable value. And when you give it away without receiving equivalent value in return, you are not being generous. You are violating a law, and laws have consequences regardless of your intentions. I have sat with hundreds of people who were exhausted and broke, and when I asked them to account for their time, the pattern was always the same. They were giving enormous quantities of it away to employers who did not compensate them fairly, to friends who consumed their expertise for free, to family members who had made them a permanent solution to problems they had not asked to inherit, and every hour given without fair exchange was an hour not spent building their own financial foundation. The Talmud in Tractate Eruvin teaches that time is the most finite and therefore the most precious resource a person possesses. Unlike money, which can be earned back, time given away is gone permanently and irreversibly. People who protect their time fiercely, who refuse to give it without fair exchange, these people accumulate wealth, and people who treat their time as a limitless resource available to whoever asks, these people remain poor. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack effort, but because they gave away the very material from which wealth is made. Now, I am not saying never give your time to others. That would violate tzedakah, the principle of righteous giving that Bava Batra 9a calls equal in weight to all other commandments combined. What I am saying is this: there is a difference between giving deliberately, intentionally, from genuine abundance, and giving because you are afraid of what happens if you do not. One is holy, the other is a leak. Ask yourself one question every time someone requests your time. Is this deliberate holy giving? Or am I giving because I do not respect myself enough to say no? If the answer is the second, you are not giving, you are leaking, and leaks must be sealed. The second thing you must never give away carelessly is your money to people who cannot or will not return it. In Tractate Bava Metzia, Chapter 5, the Talmud distinguishes with extraordinary precision between a loan and a gift. A loan given to someone who will not repay is not a loan. It is a gift given under the false name of a loan. And this distinction carries profound consequences. Because when you call something a loan that is actually a gift, you carry resentment. They carry shame, and both of you are worse off than if you had never entered the arrangement. I want to tell you about a man I will call Yosef. He came to me 7 years ago, hard-working, decent to his core. His business earned enough to support his family modestly, but every month without fail, he was short, not because business was failing, because he was lending constantly to family members who never repaid. A brother who had borrowed 11 times and repaid 0. A cousin who owed thousands with a new excuse each month. A neighbor whose single emergency had become a permanent arrangement. Yosef said, "Rabbi, they needed it. What was I supposed to do?" I said, "Yosef, the Torah answers this directly. Exodus 22:24 and the Talmud in Bava Metzia 71a establish the hierarchy clearly. Your own household first, your own poor before the poor of your city, your foundation before anyone else's comfort. This is not selfishness. This is the law. You cannot fill another vessel from an empty one. You cannot save a drowning man if you are drowning yourself." Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, whose halachic rulings are studied globally, wrote that giving money someone will not return out of fear of saying no is not tzedakah. It is the willful destruction of your own financial vessel, and the Torah does not reward that. I watched Yosef make one change. He stopped lending to those with a pattern of not repaying. He redirected his generosity into time, advice, connections, and where genuine charity was warranted, he gave it explicitly as a gift with no expectation attached. Within 8 months, he had cleared the debt he had accumulated covering other people's lives. Within 18 months, savings for the first time in a decade. Not because his income changed, because the leak was finally sealed. Now I am about to reveal the third thing, and of the three, this one is the most invisible, the most insidious, the most devastating, and in 40 years of teaching, I have found it to be the single most common reason why genuinely good, genuinely hard-working people stay poor. The third thing you must never give away is your mental energy to worry, to drama, and to other people's financial crises. Your mental energy, your capacity for focused, intentional thought, your ability to direct your full attention toward opportunities and solutions rather than emergencies that drain everything and resolve nothing. The Talmud in Tractate Sota records something that scholars have called one of the most psychologically astute observations in all of rabbinic literature. A person's income follows the direction of their dominant thoughts, not their labor, not their strategy, their thoughts. The habitual direction of mental attention determines the direction of financial flow, and most people pour their most powerful mental energy into exactly the wrong places. Worry about what might go wrong, other people's financial dramas that consume hours every week and produce nothing for anyone. Ben Zoma's teaching in Pirkei Avot chapter 4, who is rich, he who is satisfied with his portion, is not a teaching about settling for less. The Kabbalists who studied this text for centuries read it as a teaching about mental direction. A satisfied person's mental energy flows toward building. An unsatisfied person's mental energy flows into a drain. The Zohar, the central text of Kabbalah, teaches that the mind is the vessel of vessels, the primary instrument through which divine abundance either flows into a person's life or is blocked from entering it. A mind saturated with worry, with drama it did not choose, with other people's emergencies, is a sealed vessel, and sealed vessels receive nothing. There were two brothers, same mother, same father, same neighborhood, same education, same starting point in life. By the time they came to me in their late 40s, one had built genuine financial stability. The other had struggled without interruption, despite equal effort. The difference was not income, not intelligence, not opportunity. It was mental energy. The brother who built stability spent his mental energy on solvable problems and actionable opportunities. The brother who struggled spent it on worry he could not change, on family drama he had not created and could not resolve, on other people's crises that consumed hours each week and produced nothing. He was not a bad man. He was a man who had never been told that mental energy is finite, that it is his most valuable possession, and that he had been giving it away every single day for 30 years. Now let me give you the exact practice, because the ancient rabbis never gave principles without methods. For protecting your time, the Torah gives us shmirat hazman, the guarding of time, the same root as shmirat Shabbat, active, fierce protection of something irreplaceable. Every week, on the evening before the week begins, 10 minutes, review every request on your time that is not compensated, not genuine tzedakah, not something you truly choose to give. For each one ask, does this serve my building or drain my vessel? If it drains, decline it quietly, without elaborate explanation. I am not available for that. That is a complete sentence in Jewish law and in life. For protecting your money, the practice is hafrashat maser, the separation of your portion. Before any lending, any financial assistance to anyone, ask yourself one question. If this money never returns to me, will my own household be secure? If the answer is no, the money belongs to your foundation, not to anyone else. If the answer is yes, give freely, but not before. For protecting your mental energy, the practice is kavana, directed intention. Every morning before the phone, before the news, 5 minutes. 3 questions. What am I building today? What am I open to receiving today? What am I releasing from yesterday's? Those 3 questions asked every morning without exception begin to rewire the direction of your mental focus. Away from drains, away from worry, toward building, toward receiving, toward the kind of thought the Talmud says precedes all genuine accumulation. I want to close with something my own teacher, Rabbi Mordecai Feigenbaum of blessed memories, said to a student who called this teaching selfish. My teacher said, "Let me ask you something. If a man has a candle and gives the flame to everyone who asks, one by one, until his own candle is dark, what has he done for the world? Has he added light or removed it?" The student was quiet. My teacher continued, "The Torah does not ask you to extinguish yourself for others. It asked you to burn so brightly that your flame can light 1,000 other candles without ever diminishing. That is the difference between the generosity that builds and the generosity that destroys. Guard your time, guard your money, guard your mental energy, not to hoard them, but to build with them. Fill your own vessel first, then give from genuine overflow, from real abundance, in ways that actually change the world. If this teaching reached something real in you tonight, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on notifications. Every week I bring you ancient Jewish wisdom about money, prosperity, and the laws that have protected Jewish families for 3,000 years. Leave a comment right now and write, "The 3 things I will protect." Say it publicly, because naming what is yours to guard is the first act of guarding it. Share this with one person who gives everything away and cannot understand why they never get ahead. And hit the like button, because this wisdom deserves to reach every person who needs it. May you guard what is yours to guard. May your vessel be sealed and filled and overflowing. May you give from abundance and never again from emptiness. May your time be precious in your own eyes, as it is in the eyes of the Creator who gave it to you. May your money serve your building, and your building serve the world. And may your mind be so clear and so free that the opportunities which were always waiting for you finally have room to find you. You were not created to be poor. You were created to build. Guard these 3 things, and watch what begins to grow. Shalom.